Have you ever felt the sound of death arriving before you actually heard a single noise? Around 4 million years ago, in a plain forgotten by time, silence was more feared than any roar. And it was in that silence that everything began. That morning, the sky still held the golden light of early day. The wind crawled low over cracked earth and scattered stones, carrying the smell of dust, crushed roots, and fear. A small group of hominins, our earliest ancestors, moved cautiously near a low slope where broken ground met dry shrubs. Their names were never recorded. There were no names at all. But today, we'll call the youngest Saha, the elder Ka, and the dominant male Taro. They didn't speak with words. They spoke with eyes, with held breath, with muscles that learned to survive before they even understood what living meant. Saha stood a little over a meter tall. Her arms were long, fingers curved and nimble. She carried a small basket made of woven dry leaves, a rudimentary gesture, but one that hinted at a mind beginning to observe, to plan, and to fear. Hunger gripped their stomachs for days. Roots were scarce, eggs even rarer. The group had to go farther, and that meant danger. Taro was the first to descend the slope. His bare feet touched the ground with instinctive precision. He knew the terrain as if his body remembered every thorn, every sharp stone. He paused, felt the air. The wind had shifted. Ka followed behind, his body hunched from age, but his eyes still sharp. Saha hesitated. A muffled sound, a nearly inaudible crack, made her freeze in place. But she said nothing. No one did. What Saha didn't know, what none of them knew, was that just over 60 meters away, half hidden by dry brush and piercing morning light, a predator lay flat against the earth. It was listening too, but it wasn't afraid. The pre-lion wasn't a lion as we know it. It didn't roar loudly. It didn't need to. Its body was smaller, more agile, with a mottled coat that melted into the dry soil. Its eyes, deep amber, locked onto the three humans the way a mother stares down a thief near her cubs. But there was no morality here, only need. Pure instinct. Kill or don't eat. Eat or vanish. Taro raised his face. The sun touched his eyes. And in that moment, the tension snapped. The pre-lion launched forward like lightning, tearing through the sparse brush like smoke. The sound of its paws, striking hard ground, was drowned by the thunder of Saha's heartbeat. She ran. Screamed without sound. Ka fell to his knees, and Taro turned. This was it. The moment of choice. An entire species, a bloodline, a fragile future, bent in that instant. If Taro ran, he might live. But if he ran, Saha would die. Ka had no chance. Taro's eyes fixed on the charging shadow. He screamed, not with his throat, but with his body. He stepped forward, grabbed a stone, the largest he could lift, and threw it. The stone cut through the air, spinning awkwardly. It clipped the predator's flank, didn't injure it, but it stopped it. The pre-lion halted. Hunger made its muscles tremble, but something in that gesture confused it. It was unfamiliar, human, threat and unpredictability. For a breath, just one, the animal hesitated. And that was all Saha needed. She grabbed Ka by the shoulders, dragged him backward behind a rock formation. Taro retreated sideways, never breaking eye contact with the predator. The pre-lion growled low, as if to say, "Not today," and vanished into the brush without haste. Silence returned, but now it screamed. The group stayed frozen for a long time. Saha's heart pounded so loudly it echoed in her chest like a drum. Taro knelt. Blood dripped from his hand. The stone had torn his palm. He stared at the ground. And in that moment, something shifted. That choice, that stone, that pause from the predator, all of it was new. That night, the group sheltered in a small cave, curled together like the limbs of one branch. Ka trembled. Saha cried in silence, her eyes locked on the weak fire that barely warmed them, but shone brighter than anything she had ever seen. Taro sat at the entrance. His gaze swept the darkness as if expecting it to speak. But what came wasn't sound. It was a feeling. For the first time, Taro realized that survival wasn't just about running. It was about protecting. And that changed everything. The smell of smoke, the crackle of wood, the distant sound of some beast that dared not approach the flame. Everything in that moment seemed to contain the beginning of something. An awakening, a thread between creatures that, until then, had only known instinct. Saha turned and looked Taro in the eyes. No words were spoken. But if you had been there, you would have known exactly what she meant. Because there are moments in the story of this world that don't fit into words. They fit into eyes, into decisions, into stones thrown with fear and courage at the same time. And if we're here today, listening to this story, it's because someone, in a nameless time, chose to stay and fight. Tell me in the comments from which city or country you're watching this video. That same night, while everyone slept, Saha stood up. There was something outside. A sound. Different. It wasn't the pre-lion. It was deeper, more constant. Like a call. Something she herself didn't know why she was drawn to. But she walked into the dark. And that's when everything changed. The fire had nearly gone out when Saha stepped over the sleeping bodies. The embers pulsed faintly in the dark like a heart struggling to stay alive. Outside the cave, the air was colder than usual. Dry. Still. But something pulled her. A sound too low to name. A rhythm more felt than heard. She didn't call for Taro. She didn't wake Ka. She moved silently, barefoot, each step a gamble between curiosity and death. Her breath came short as she reached the edge of the clearing. Beyond the rocks, the darkness thickened like smoke. Not complete, but full of hidden shapes, whispering winds, and ancient danger. Then she saw it. At first it looked like part of the earth, a lump in the grass, barely moving. But as her eyes adjusted, she saw its ribcage rise. Shallow, slow. A faint glow from the sky, starlight, moonlight, or something in between, revealed a figure she had never imagined. A pre-lion, younger than the one they had faced, smaller, starved, wounded. Its fur was matted with blood and dust. One of its hind legs dragged uselessly behind it, likely shattered. Its eyes were open, but glassy. It didn't growl, didn't move, just watched her, blinking once every few seconds, as if even that cost too much. Saha froze. Every instinct in her body screamed, run, scream, wake the others, but something in her feet refused, something deeper, ancient. She crouched, slowly, as if trying not to break the silence between them. The animal didn't react. It was no longer a hunter. It was the hunted, by time, by pain, by the slow, cruel erosion of life. She should have gone back. She should have left. But instead her hand reached to the side. She picked up a small root, dried but edible, and rolled it toward the beast. It stopped inches from its nose. The pre-lion blinked again, then turned its head away. Not interested, or maybe just too tired to care. She stayed a few more moments, watching it breathe. The air around them held a stillness too dense for words. For the first time, she felt something she had never felt toward a predator. Sorrow. It was raw and uncomfortable, but real. Then, behind her, a sound. Twigs cracking, not soft, not distant. A second predator. Saha turned, her heartbeat leaping. The shape emerged from the brush, larger, faster, sharper. The older pre-lion, the one from earlier, had followed them. Maybe it had never left. Maybe it had always been there, watching, waiting. Its eyes met hers, and then it looked down at the wounded one. The moment stretched, painful in its tension. A soft growl vibrated from its chest, not rage, not hunger. Something else. A signal, a recognition. It approached the younger one, sniffed its side, then lay beside it. Not to kill, to protect. Saha stepped back, her breath caught in her throat. She moved slowly, inch by inch, until the darkness swallowed her again. She didn't run, didn't look back, but everything inside her had changed. By morning, the cave was warm with light. Taro was already awake, chewing a piece of bark with dull focus. Saha sat beside him, quiet, until she finally whispered, "I saw them." Taro turned, his brow furrowed. "What?" She pointed outside. "The lion, and another. But they didn't attack." Taro stared. His mind struggled to piece the meaning. "Didn't attack?" She shook her head. "They stayed, together. One was hurt." Ka, overhearing, chuckled dryly. "You dream with your eyes open, little one." But Saha didn't laugh, and neither did Taro. Because somewhere in the back of his mind, a question stirred. Could predators feel? Later that day, as the group moved through the valley, the tension in the air had changed. Not gone, but different. They found traces of the animals, prints, tufts of fur, bones stripped clean. Yet nothing hunted them that day. And when night came again, they built their fire just a little farther from the rocks, braver perhaps, or more curious. That night, Saha dreamed. In the dream, the sky cracked open and light poured over the land like fire. The lions stood upright like humans, speaking without words. They showed her their hunger, their sorrow, their long march through time. They asked nothing, only watched, waiting. She woke with tears in her eyes, and in the shadows near the mouth of the cave, something moved. Not an attack, not a threat, just a presence, watching, always watching. The next morning, Taro found something strange. Near the edge of the clearing, someone, or something, had placed 3 small stones in a perfect triangle. Not random, not natural, arranged, intentionally, as if to say, "We see you too." But it wasn't the stones that haunted Taro most. It was the smell, something sharp, fresh, recent. And then he realized the younger pre-lion was gone, but its blood trail led toward their cave. The blood was still wet when Taro knelt beside it. Thick drops, scattered like forgotten seeds across the dry soil. Each one marked a beat of a fading life. The trail curved slightly around the rocks, then disappeared into the thicker brush just beyond the edge of the clearing. It didn't make sense. The wounded pre-lion should have been too weak to move, and yet it had. Toward them. Ka stood farther back, a hand shielding his eyes from the low morning sun. "It's looking for shelter," he muttered. Saha, eyes wide, whispered, "Or something else." Taro didn't answer. His thoughts spun in silence. All his life, all their lives, predators were chaos, bringers of fear, forces of instinct and hunger. But this felt different. And if it wasn't hunger, then what was it? They followed the trail. It led them behind a ridge, through tall grass and twisted shrubs, to a hollow depression in the land, a natural bowl hidden from the wind. And there it was. The younger pre-lion lay curled beneath a dead tree, breathing heavily. Its chest rose and fell like the slow waves of a dying tide. Blood matted its side, but its eyes were open, locked on them with no strength left for fear. And beside it, the older pre-lion, not standing, lying, dead. Its body draped over the younger one like a final shield. Taro froze. Saha covered her mouth. Even Ka, whose years had carved away most softness, took a step back. There was no sign of a fight. No wound, no claw mark, no enemy. Just stillness, the kind that comes only after a choice. It had given itself, not in defense, not in combat, but in peace, as if it had understood something none of them ever had. Taro approached slowly. The younger one watched, breathing shallow, barely blinking. He crouched, picked up a stick, scraped the ground. A symbol, a circle with a line through it, something he'd seen etched into cave walls, something the elders used to mark warning or memory. Saha knelt beside him. Her hand brushed the creature's paw. It didn't flinch. That night, they did something they had never done before. They didn't light the fire. They sat in the dark, not in fear, in reverence. The next few days were marked by silence, but it wasn't the old kind, the silence of fear. It was something deeper, thoughtful, transformative. They moved with more awareness. Taro began marking stones with patterns. Sahar watched birds build nests and copied their weavings with dried grass. Ka, though still skeptical, began humming, short, low tones that echoed softly into the caves at night. And always, always, they looked beyond the ridge. The younger pre-lion stayed there, alive, watching, no longer predator, no longer threat. Something else. The shift wasn't just in them, it was in the land. Animals that once scattered at the sound of footsteps now paused, watched, and moved only when they felt truly threatened. The air felt mutual, as if the forest, the wind, the beasts, all of it was listening now. And then came the storm. On the fourth night after the death of the older lion, the sky broke open. Rain like the world had never seen. Thunder cracked the sky apart. Lightning clawed across the hills. Water poured in sheets, turning dust into rivers. The cave where they once slept flooded within minutes. They ran. The tribe scrambled uphill, clambering over slick stone and soaked roots, blind under darkness and rain. But the water followed, fast, hungry, relentless. Sahar slipped, rolled down a slope. Taro yelled, dove after her. Ka held onto a root with both hands, his arms trembling under the pull of the current. It was chaos. It was death, reborn in water. And then, through the flash of lightning, they saw it. The younger pre-lion, at the top of the ridge, standing tall, eyes glowing, it growled, loud this time, not in warning, but in command. Taro looked up, and for a moment, everything stopped. Because the growl didn't bring fear, it brought direction. He followed its gaze. To the left, a higher ledge, dry, safe, hidden. He yelled back, "This way!" They climbed, cutting through roots, dragging Ka up by his arms. The water rose behind them, hungry and wild. But they reached the ledge just as the lowest branches were swallowed below. They collapsed together, breathing, alive, saved, by what was once their hunter. Morning came. The storm had passed. Everything below was drowned. A new land made of mud and silence. The river had carved new paths through the valley. Their cave was gone. So were their old markers, their fire pit, their tools. But they were still here. And so was the lion. It stood on a rock, silent, observing. Then it turned, walked into the trees, disappeared. But not without leaving something behind. A lesson. In the moons that followed, things changed fast. The group began crafting new shelters. Not just caves, but lean-tos made of branches and leaves. They discovered new routes, new ways to store water in stone basins. Saha learned to shape dried bark into containers. Taro started marking hunting paths with symbols, warning of cliffs and thorn patches. Ka taught the younger ones to listen to the earth, not just look. But more than that, they began to remember. They told stories. Not with words, not yet, but with sounds, gestures, patterns in sand. The story of the lion who gave his life. The story of the one who watched instead of attacked. The night of the storm. The growl that pointed the way. Each story a stone in the foundation of what we now call culture. Empathy. Memory. Somewhere, deep in your blood, those stories still live. Because you are not just the result of evolution. You are the result of choices. Of eyes that met across fear. Of fires that were not lit, of predators that hesitated, and of one girl, 4 million years ago, who dared to walk into the dark and offer a route to a dying beast.